Have you ever tried to use the tracker inside of DaVinci Resolve Fusion and sometimes you get bad results? Maybe there's like light flaring in front of the thing you're trying to track? Well, today I'm going to share with you how you can actually create manual displacement tracking data so that you can solve pretty much any shot out there with the simple point tracker. This is the footage we're going to work with today. So it's backlit, it's cinematic looking, right? You always backlight cinema stuff. Well, the point is I want to get tracking on this sign here, which is going to always have a hard time with trackers because, well, it just doesn't maintain the pattern over time. So if you want to actually follow along with the same footage, I put it up on Cutting Club. So that's creativevideotips.com/Cutting Club. And that's a place where you can download footage for all these free VFX YouTube tutorials. And it's just a great way you can help support the channel. So let's get started with adding a tracker tool first. Shift-space TRA is our standard point tracker, fundamental basic tool of any VFX work. And the one that it pops up with automatically if you have Studio is IntelliTrack. This will work with IntelliTrack or the regular point tracker. In fact, let's come over here and I'm going to add the regular point tracker instead so you can see you can do this with the free version. Manual tracking doesn't matter. I'm going to delete the IntelliTrack once the regular point tracker is loaded onto there, and I will load the tracker into the viewer. So I'm picking, flicking, so we can see this green box over here. Now, I'm purposely parking it on a frame that has contrast, which for this footage, it's frame 11, because this is the frame that the tracker actually memorizes. So it's good to actually give it as much detail as possible for the best fighting chance. And the way we manipulate and move this tracker on screen, if it's the regular old point tracker, that upper left has a little dot, a little rectangle to the rectangle. Click that upper left dot and you can actually manipulate that. So something like this, a corner, would be a good place to actually place the tracker on. And I'm starting on frame 11. Now to just track one frame, which is what we need to actually be able to manipulate the rest of the frames, all we'll do is in the inspector, this right little track forward one button, and we'll see it didn't do a great job. Now, how do we manipulate this path to even get these 2 points correct? Well, select the next to last point on there, and then you can actually make it red and manipulate it like any other polygon, like a mask that's in Fusion. So I'm going to zoom in, Command mouse wheel or Control mouse wheel, or if you have a Wacom, it's middle click. Zoom in really close, and the previous frame that I'm on. So I'm on this one with the up and right arrows, but the previous one is this guy right here from the previous frame. That turned it red, which means I can now manipulate the actual tracking path displacement that's on here. And in fact, the other thing you'll notice when it turns red, up here in the upper left, you have all these polygon tools available to manipulate it or create new points, which is what we're getting to. So I'm going to take the last point here that was wrong, just pick it up, move it where it belongs, which is in that corner. And the next step to this is just using the click append mode, which lets us place keyframes manually onto the image so that we can match move something later on. So click append up here with it red. It'll be that far left one. Shift C is your shortcut for it. Click it and we'll go to the next frame with the bracket key, which is frame 13. And then all I need to do is click on the image at that point where I want the tracking path to exist. And then there we go. I'm fighting the machine. I'm going through the solar flare. I'm going to the next frame, 14 with the bracket key. I'm going to choose right about there. I will just keep going frame by frame by frame. And if it's wrong, just pick it up and move it a little bit, you know? That's the nice thing about manual tracking is there's no reason you can't get things accurate. Now, if you're not subframe accurate, probably doesn't matter on a shot like this where it's blocked so much. Now it will continue off frame. We're going to get to that at the end. Stick around for that. But how do we get the other direction on this? So this is the thing that has come up a lot recently since I did one about replacing a phone screen. How do we pick up the track so that we can go the other direction? Well, this takes a little bit of trickery. The first thing I'm going to tell you to do is come up here to your tools. Something that I found really useful is to turn on this guy right here, just so that you can see things a little bit better. It's called Show Key Points. Shift K is your shortcut if you want to learn a shortcut. But essentially what that is, it just persisted to show these rectangle or square boxes for previous keyframes. And what you want to do is first select the next to last of the other direction you want to go. So I'm selecting this guy right here, which is basically sort of just releasing the whole click append from the other direction. And then you want to tell Fusion and the tracker, which way do I want to pick up from next? And so I want to pick up from this point here. So I'm doing 2 clicks, one there to select the path, and now from there. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going the other direction, and click append should work without doing some weird loop around with your path. So click append is still selected, that's Shift C, and we can continue this motion path, this manual motion path in the other direction. And there we go. We've got a motion path that was completely manually clicked and it fought through that solar flare. Well, how can you use this? There's lots of ways. I've got other tutorials I'm going to link to do that, but let's just say we want to use this as a merge so we can have a logo follow along. Let's do that. In the immediate pool, I've got a little logo here. It looks like this. I'm going to stick this into the green foreground of the tracker. Close the media pool up, give me more space, Command F to sort of see what's happening. Nothing's happening. Well, why? The tracker tool needs to go to the operation mode over here to match move where foreground goes over background. Now here's the next thing. It's not in the correct position that I want it to be. That's fine. You can adjust the offsets. The offset basically uses the same motion data, but you can reposition where this foreground element is. So if I go to the tracker tab, you'll see down here offsets for 2. So the X and Y offsets, you can drag these if you want. In fact, there's actually an on-screen control in the upper left. If you click this guy, make it blue, you can see there's a red dotted line, which is your offset path in the viewer itself. So if I pick this red offset line, I can reposition this graphic anywhere. Maybe I want it to be right in line with that original path. There we go. Now the last piece of the puzzle for something like this is you're thinking, well, it gets stuck on the edges, right? Well, gradient extrapolation is the trick to continue this motion path off when you don't have anything else to offset it with. So how am I going to do that? Real simple trick. Go to the spline editor up here, click displacement, and you can see this is all that manual tracking data that we did, and it's flat on these lines at the beginning and end. All we need to do, right click anywhere in here, change this to gradient extrapolation, and it continues the momentum on both ends of those so that anything you're match moving moves off screen just fine. And I'll give you one last little bonus tip here in Fusion. Anytime we move something, there's usually a motion blur switch that will help integrate it a little bit better. And so the tracker tool is no exception. So click tracker tool, settings tab, motion blur, turn the quality up a little bit, maybe change the shutter angle. This was shot with not a 180-degree angle because it's iPhone footage. Something like this, you know, maybe that helps blend it a little bit better. The main thing to remember when you're doing manual tracking is select the next to last point. That'll make it red, and then you can manipulate it to your heart's content. Hey, my name is Chadwick. This channel is Creative Video Tips. I teach all things DaVinci Resolve. I'm a DaVinci Resolve Master Trainer and Finishing Editor here in New York. I just appreciate you so much for hanging out, learning these little quirky things with me. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.